Good morning, it's Charles Fullion from Verified Services. I said I was going to send another video through this week. Today I'd like to speak to you with regards to advertising versus marketing. Some people have a misconception that they think it's the same thing, and it's very much not the same thing. So I'll go through the 2 points with you guys. First one, I'll start with advertising. Just purely from my history, I am going to be speaking with regards to my experience and me running my business, directing this at small to medium-sized businesses, and predominantly in the service industry. But I think this theory will apply to pretty much most businesses, except for major corporations, clearly. So what I'm going to start off with talking about is the first thing we need to be clear on is advertising must be part of your budget. Whatever your turnover is, you need to budget between 4 and 12% of your monthly turnover back into advertising. The lower the percentage, the less growth you're going to have. The higher the percentage, clearly the more growth you're going to have. So for those of you guys who might be starting new businesses and who are looking at starting up a business who haven't even started, you need to do a different project, a different process, and that's called backwards engineering, reverse engineering to be exact. So you got to look at where you want to be in a year's time. What does your turnover want to be in a year's time? So if you want to go from 0 to 100,000 Rand, then you need to have between 48,000 Rand and 144,000 Rand available for your marketing. That's over and above your tools and you buying your machinery and all that other kind of costs. You need to have that from the onset of your business, because if you don't, there's no point having all the machinery but no work. So rule of thumb is between 4 and 12%. The closer to 12%, the more leads you're going to have. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have more work. It still comes down to the fact of your pricing and your service. Just because you have your phone ringing and your pricing is too high doesn't mean you're going to get work. So you still got to get that formula right on your pricing with your advertising. Now, there are several ways to advertise your business. There is print media, which is your community magazines, print media community magazines. Those are your neighborhood magazines that go out. They normally got a distribution of a couple thousand, depending where you are. The more established magazines, again, I'm speaking to an environment that I know, which is Durban. We're between 3.5 and 4 or 5,000 Rand a month, and it could go up depending. Your distributorship, you need to understand the distributorship, who your target market is and who they're going to deliver to, because you don't want them delivering to a target market that doesn't fit into your price range. Number one. Number two, newspapers. Newspapers it's old school. It doesn't work anymore. It's just too busy and no one really reads. Relatively effective, but again, I just wouldn't go that way. There's social media. I have a little bit of a grudge with social media, because there's two ways to do social media. Your targeted advertising, where you actually pay old Mark to do an advert for you, which is quite effective and it's a cheapest form. Or there's just putting posts on your neighborhood groups, joining as many groups as you can and putting as many posts as you can. And then your online directories. They're becoming more and more and more. I'm kind of coming across from an online directory, but yeah, we'll get to that shortly. But your social media posts, the problem with that is, because it's got such a widespread appeal, and it is free, if you're going onto the groups, people expect you to be cheap. So for me, social media posts has become the new word of mouth. And I don't trust the word of mouth through social media, because a lot of it is just friends and family of that business promoting that business, and you don't know that person at all. So I sit on the fence of it. I use it still with my old business, but I still sit on the fence with it. So fundamentally, those are kind of your several ways of advertising your business. That's your budget. You need to focus on between 4 and 12% of your monthly turnover. If you're a new business, you reverse engineer, you forecast where you'd like to be in a year's time, and then you take 4 to 12% of that and you add it to your budget and you advertise. Now, there's a thing called the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. Now, the 80-20 rule applies to many, many different things. There's been some debunking of it, but I still think it's pretty accurate. 80% of your money is made from 20% of your clients. So over the years, I established a slightly different principle, which is a 20-60-20 principle. 20% will support you, it's a non-issue. It might be family, it might just be friends, or it's those clients that you've been servicing for many years who don't question you, who know you're going to come in, you're going to get the job done, you're not going to ask any questions, you're not going to ask for deposits, you're going to finish on time, you're going to stick to what you say, and you're going to be off site, and that's it. And those clients will always support you because you stick to the rules and they're happy to use you. Then you got the 20% that, well, doesn't make a difference how cheap you are, they're going to keep phoning until somebody's cheaper. And that's not your target market because you will not make money on those clients. And the more client haggles you out of that 20%, the less money you make. So again, if your pricing's right, you shouldn't deviate too much off your pricing because that's your value. If your pricing's too high, you clearly don't know your value. If your pricing's too low, you're going to lose money, you're going to be out of business in a few months. But then there's a 60% in the middle. So you got 20 in the top end, 20 in the bottom end, and 60% in the middle. That 60% makes their calls through information. Now, information such as what? Word of mouth. Now, the word of mouth that they get information from is a friend, a family member, a friend of a friend. Someone who they can touch in the respect of touching. But it's someone that's tangible and they can pick up the phone them and say, hey, recommend a plumber. And they'll go, hey, I've used this guy. He's fantastic. And they take that as face value. They get a quote. If they want to shop around from that point, they'll carry it. But it's third-party promotion, third-party referral. And that's where a lot of that work comes from, is purely by information. Proper word of mouth. They also judge you by the type of car you arrive in. Again, from experience, if you arrive in a pretty fancy-ass car, they're going to think, hey, you're too expensive. If you arrive in a car that you have to get the client to help you push start at the end of the day, when you're leaving a quote, they're not going to use you either because they don't think you're reliable. So there's all these different aspects, how you wear your clothes, what you wear, your communication, how quick you get the quote to them. I always had a principle of call to quote within 24 hours. So if you get a quote today, and that depends on the industry, you obviously can't turn around a quote for the construction industry within 24 hours. So, but that's 60%. That's a 60% that Verified Services targets for the client, for the contractor. And we've created a platform where you can add information about yourself, and we're a third-party verification. So they can come on, they can do a search, you can submit your quote, they can check on you by yourselves as a third party. We do the verification, and that will inevitably help you increase your secure rate. Remember one thing, the more you increase your advertising, the more running you're going to do, the more inquiries you're going to do, the more work you're going to do, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more a higher secure rate because it's just a lot more work. So instead of doing 20 quotes and securing 6, why not do 10 quotes and secure 6? And that's what Verified Services focuses on, is a higher secure rate for fewer quotes, which increases your profitability on your fuel costs, your running around costs, and your time on site. Or you can just increase your advertising, spend more time driving around and trying to get that work in. So having said that, advertising versus marketing, Verified Services works with your advertising. It doesn't work against. We want to work with your online directories. We want to work with your print media. We want to create a small brand awareness on each of the businesses that this is a Verified Services, a third party verified. So when a client sees your vehicle and they've got the branding stickers on it immediately, they know that that company is verified as opposed to somebody who isn't. So we don't work against other online directories. We don't work against print media. We work with you. And that's the whole principle of Verified Services. So once again, the difference between advertising and marketing, there it is. And if this is of interest to you, go through to www.verifiedservices.co.za and register your business and be getting some nice growth going forward. And yeah, hope to chat to you again soon next week. Thanks a lot. Cheers.